last session or the management session, but it's an important session. This war of narratives and this narrative warfare is something which has touched everybody on social media. Everyone wants to be a part of war of narrative. And I would like to start with you, ma'am. I was going to ask this question. You're from media, and we are seeing the fiercest battleground of war of narratives is in the media space, where one is being called a game, the other one is trying to call itself a different media, right? But tell me something, don't you think in this war of narrative where it is us against them, it's an all-out of either you or us, it is dividing. It has a dividing effect on the larger population of the country. Do you think that this war is necessary, or do you think there are better ways to fight this war in the media space?
First of all, thank you for having me here. And hello, sir. आपने जो बात की है वॉर ऑफ नैरेटिव की इन मीडिया स्पेस, वॉर ऑफ नैरेटिव मीडिया स्पेस पे ऑलरेडी काफी कुछ आप लोगों ने डिस्कस किया है लास्ट सेशंस में और काफी चीजें बाहर निकल कर आई हैं। लेकिन अगर हम मीडिया की बात करें, जो गोदी मीडिया और ये जो दूसरा जिसको हम बोलते हैं लिबरल मीडिया, ये जो बने हैं नैरेटिव्स, ये जो अभी आपके पहले सेशन में भी डिस्कस हो रहा था, ये पहले नहीं होता था। आपने एक आइडियोलॉजी को या राष्ट्रवादवादी पत्रकारिता को दबाने की कोशिश की, कई सच आपने दबाने की कोशिश की। अब अगर कोई इस बात को बोलने की कोशिश करता है, आप उसको टैग देके कैंसिल करने की कोशिश करते हैं। यहाँ से वो नैरेटिव वॉर शुरू होती है, और अगर आप उसको वॉर के रूप में देखते हैं तो फैक्ट्स के साथ चाहिए। कोई भी वॉर, चाहे वो बैटल आप कहीं पे भी लड़े, फील्ड पे लड़े, या ये नैरेटिव वॉर हो, बिना फैक्ट्स के आप नहीं कर सकते हैं। तो जहाँ तक आप मीडिया की बात करें, तो मीडिया में जो दो धड़े बन चुके हैं, उनमें जो नैरेटिव की आप बात करते हैं, सबके अपने अपने नैरेटिव होते हैं, लेकिन सच्चाई कहाँ है वो देखना ज्यादा जरूरी है। अभी इससे पहले जो सेशन हुआ था उसमें ये सब बातें हुई थी। इस सच को हर मीडिया जो इंस्टीट्यूट है वो किस तरह से दबाता है, ये मीडिया चैनल है वो किस तरह से दबाने की कोशिश करता है, और ये हमेशा से होता आया है। सच कहाँ पर खड़ा है ये हमेशा जनता तय करती है, और जो मानसिकता से लोग उसको देखते हैं सुनते हैं, वो उसके हिसाब से उसको पसंद करते या नहीं करते। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी चीज ये होती है कि सच को अगर आप फैक्ट्स के साथ रखोगे, तो आप चाहे इस तरफ देखें चाहे उस तरफ देखें, लेकिन सच के साथ खड़े होना है, और दूसरा उसमें देश हित देखना है, ये देखना बहुत जरूरी है। तो आपका क्वेश्चन है कि आज की डेट में जो मीडिया का वॉर आप देखते हैं, मेरा यही कहना है कि नैरेटिव वॉर ऐसा बना नहीं है, इसको बनाया गया है। अगर आप सच के साथ चलेंगे, फैक्ट्स के साथ बात करेंगे, तो जो चीजें हैं वो खबरों के जरिए आपको साफ नजर आएंगी।
Thank you. So moving from media and going into something which is a specific domain. Today the biggest threat of India is the narrative warfare which is emerging from the boundaries which we demonstrated, and that is the boundaries of social media. How well equipped we are to deal with this? Because there is an injection minority face. It's my own observation. The biggest challenge, not Kashmir, not Kerala, the whole country today is facing is increased radicalization. Everybody is talking about de-radicalization programs, but the problem is this radicalization is not happening on ground, it's happening on social media, it's coming from online. So how do you see this as a challenge, and how do you see in the war of narratives, how do we control these narratives when they are, you cannot physically control them because of the boundaries?
And ma'am, please be like
Okay. When the whole government of India or the governments of world have not been able to handle the issue of social media, suddenly to expect me to find the bullet which can solve it is something very difficult. But let me give a different perspective. I'm extremely fond of social media. I'm extremely fond of media, and I'm as a military man who's supposed to fear media because they should not know any leak like in the military. I am making the statement, and I can assure you one thing, that more you keep facts out in the public domain, the lesser you need to hide from anybody else. There will be always spin, but absence of news or hiding of news gives it far more spin to the information, which is much more difficult to fight it.
So
The second is the facts always emerge. You can't suppress. So I teach and practice narrative warfare. I love it because I enjoy it.
there it is.
There's a difference between fact,
But they're already.
truth, reality, narrative, right? Each are something.
To the festival if at all it happens.
So what does social media do?
Yeah.
Today, social media has empowered everybody to actually watch what is happening. There are tools which are coming out, fact checks, which are coming out by the governments and everybody, that what is coming out is true or not.
Where's the two?
Right? But again, we talked of AI. If AI is not under your control, that fact check also goes into disarray. But the fact is, the fact is that everybody has got a level playing field today. So she thought that she's nationalist. She didn't have a voice some time back because there are 5, 6 publishing houses who control the narrative and the writing, which are flawed, which were built up from the past. They did not allow space for her or for Prakhar to say. Today, Prakhar can go out and make his own YouTube channel. It may not run. It may have controlled run because the algorithm will be controlled by a Western system. But it allows him to put it out. And that makes it much more democratic. The second thing I'll talk about narrative again, there's been a huge serious discussion about the flaws of democracy, right? No system is perfect, right? But there is to be some system which works. India will always remain a flawed democracy, but a good democracy. In spite of emergency, in spite of jokes and censorship on media, there were troubles which ensured that we came back to the normal tone. In spite of today, and you know, that question which was asked, कि पिछले 14 साल से हमारी आवाज बंद है, मोदी गोदी media and stuff like that. That itself debunks. When you come out onto the national television and say that my throat has been choked and I can't speak, but you're shouting loudly, right, against the Prime Minister, against the government, the ruling party is talking against the at the state level against a different party. Everybody is cancelling out each other. That is a chaotic, great, lovely democracy which is there. All of us are sitting in different clothes today. But when you go to US, UK, you will find shades of grey, black, and that's it. So the beauty of our democracy is true democracy. Let me just again give an example. There's a narrative happening that the costs are escalating, people are in trouble, there's a huge issue after COVID, now economy is failing, people can't, breathe. Or on the second side, same people are putting out news clips that the roads are choked, which are all going to Himachal, to Uttarakhand. Where is the fuel coming? Where is that, if I die today, within 5 minutes, Cricket gets this stuff to me. So the narrative gets busted. The only thing is that we don't use logic to talk about it. And I will wind up last point because I have worked in Kashmir for 10 years. And the love and affection which I get from the people here is not by talking, balanced stuff. छुप के बोलना है इसके बारे में. Every person is looking for fact to be spoken, truth to be spoken. You tell that you are having drug rather than couching that you are taking something and life will go back. You need to tell them you are taking drug, you are getting radical, you are doing something wrong. Talk about history. When you exchange and direct ideas, you contest at each platform. That's the fight. So I always tell that if you want to be nationalist, you love your country, you love India, love Bharat, you love your people, fight it out. Don't stay silent. And this social media today empowers every proud citizen to contest a leftist ideology or radical ideology. Please understand, leftist ideology is not about India. It's not about France. It is not about Russia. That ideology is talking about that everybody who works doesn't work, everybody's at the same plane, and entire world has to be ruled by one law. How people from Kashmir will be different. North Kashmir is different from South Kashmir, right? Our colors are different, stones are different. How can you have McDonald's only running the entire country and you have factory-driven food, right? Then we will not be humans. We will be only AI-run robots. So I am very happy with media. I really enjoy chaotic media. I love this chaotic democracy which is there. आज मेरा नंबर नहीं आया तो कल आएगा मैं बोलूँगा ठीक है so you go out in the assembly you tear up the constitution nothing happens how much liberty you want
No.
you want to kill somebody and say कि अब मुझे मत मारो मुझे don't hang me that may not happen because as you said rule of law act is different and your freedom of speech is totally different.
Can I? That's.
But in the democracy, people have walked away with murder as well, sir. Right?
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect. Yes, democracy is not perfect. But then, it's the most flawed system, but the most beautiful system everybody aspires to be. Junaid, there's a lot of emphasis on truth and facts and figures. Now, you are somebody who has represented India on an international stage time and again, where repeatedly you have been putting out numbers, facts, and against an adversary which has been always putting out lies. But where do you see that truth and numbers and facts help in war of narratives when you are in a perpetual conflict, something like Jammu and Kashmir?
Thank you, Munir sir. Just to follow up on what was said earlier, democracy is not perfect. Quoting Churchill, it's the worst form of love after all the others. I find it a very interesting question what you said. From having spent a lot of time at the UN, countering propaganda from various actors, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's China. One thing which I am not satisfied with when I look at ourselves is that, and some might agree, some might not agree, maybe a controversial opinion, but for many years we have been very, ad hoc in providing narratives to a narrative. So we have created counter narratives. I feel that we, plain talk, India has a legal title over Jammu and Kashmir. Even the Azadi Walas who were asking for Jammu and Kashmir were asking for the Jammu and Kashmir built by the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir. And the legal title rests with India over the whole state of Jammu and Kashmir. So it's not only the Jammu and Kashmir which it controls or administers, it is also the Jammu and Kashmir of Gilgit-Baltistan, which, with all due respect, even many bureaucrats in Delhi had not heard of Gilgit-Baltistan in 2008, when in 2010 the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor was launched. So what I find missing a bit is that why holding a legal title? Why are we so afraid to have our own narrative instead of always creating a counter narrative whenever they do something? So whenever there is an attack, we come out with a narrative. These are terrorists, this is the Pakistani army, this is the HM, the Lashkar. Where is our narrative independent of what they are doing? Many people here in Kashmir, long ago, even the Azadi Walas were asking for the UN resolutions. I fail to understand why have we never openly discussed the UN resolutions while having the legal title. The UN resolutions don't allow for self-determination. The UN resolutions only allow for a limited choice between India and Pakistan. And it was Pakistan, it was Sir Zafarullah Khan, the foreign minister of Pakistan, who actually took away the option of self-determination by writing a letter to the then UN Security Council President, General McNaughty, if I'm not wrong, and asking him whether the words, the future status of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, could mean an independent Kashmir. And he got an answer back, and the UN Security Council President said, if that's what the majority chooses, that could be in theory an option. And then he proposed an amendment to replace the words, the future status of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, with the following: the question of Jammu and Kashmir's accession to India or Pakistan will be decided by a free and fair plebiscite. So, first things first, one, it was the Pakistanis withdrew from any third party mediation and said that this is a bilateral issue. So, even in 72, the UN stepped out. But we never talk about that. I don't understand. The Pakistanis tried at the UN saying Kashmir mein 1 lakh log mare hain. I would like to, why don't we do a research here of who those 1 lakh are and who killed them? Because as we all know, the HM killed JKF, the Lashkar killed HM, the Jaish killed Lashkar. You know, many people were died while crossing mountains. Many people stayed over there and then disappeared. Many people married in Pakistan and changed their identities. So when you talk about 1 lakh people, why have we failed to debunk that myth by providing hardcore research with facts and data? Is first of all, how many people were killed and who killed them? And you know, I'll tell you something honestly as a Kashmiri. You know why we Kashmiris don't do it? Or why the Pakistanis don't do it? Because we all know we killed more than half of them amongst ourselves. Also for land disputes, also for marrying the most beautiful girl in the mohalla, also for getting a shop in the neighborhood, for getting admission into a college. So, you know, and that is my dissatisfaction with my state, is that our narratives are ad hoc and they are not independent of what the enemy does or does.
Nice, because the numbers we have, the governmental numbers we have is about 44,000 officially killed in Kashmir in the last 10 years. But yes, that segregation is very, very important. And you are right, there has to be a research study about that.
Rapes.
They don't talk of, rapes. Not even FIRs were filed, they were deterred to file from FIRs. But that will be making it too Kashmir-centric. I don't want to do that in this debate. I want to keep it on the larger narrative, implication. Often, it is being said it is the right wing which is very brutal when it comes to narrative. But what we have seen is the socialist left culture which started the cancel culture. For example, the right wing is accused of shouting you down, but the left is accused of silencing you down. So when you see these two different approaches coming in the war of narratives, how do you see the future going forward that basically brings some semblance of dialogue between two differing sides of the society? Because at the end of the day, India is all about differing ideologies and different dialogues. People live with dialogue. How do you see building that as a challenge to what we are seeing at the moment going on?
See, when we talk about left cancel culture, first we see that what kind of, for media if I say that, what kind of articles or ideologies they are putting up on their articles या उनकी न्यूज़. फॉर एग्जाम्पल सर, अभी इससे पहले वाला सेशन हुआ था और बहुत अच्छा लगा था मुझे. उन्होंने बोला था कि इस देश में सिर्फ एक आर्मी एक ऐसी इंस्टीट्यूशन है जिसके ऊपर देश का हर एक नागरिक गर्व करता है और भरोसा करता है. क्योंकि अब बहुत पीछे नहीं जाते. चलिए इसी महीने की बात करते हैं, नैरेटिव वॉर की बात करते हैं. हमारे नए CDS का नाम अनाउंस होता है 9 मई को. आपको याद होगा 21 मई को एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस होती है जिसमें वो एक्स आर्मी मैन बैठे होते हैं पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के साथ. आम आदमी पार्टी के होते हैं, RJD के वो संजय सिंह होते हैं, मनोज झा होते हैं, और 4 एक्स आर्मी के वो लोग बैठा के रखे होते हैं जिन्हें कोर्ट मार्शल करके आर्मी से निकाला गया है. ठीक है, अब आप सोचेंगे कि 21 मई का उस 9 मई से क्या लेना देना है. अब थोड़ा सा आप पीछे चलें. आप ये देखिए कि जब हमारे नए CDS का नाम अनाउंस होता है उसके फ़ौरन बाद में पाकिस्तान में TOI टाइम्स ऑफ इस्लामाबाद, जिसका गूगल में कोई रिकॉग्निशन नहीं है, कहीं इंडेक्स नहीं है, वो आप भी जानते हैं कि ISI प्रोपेगेंडा साइट है जिसकी कोई रीडरशिप नहीं है, वो एक आर्टिकल लिखती है जिसमें ये बताया जाता है कि इंडिया में आर्मी का जो है अब ब्यूरोक्रेटाइज हो रहा है बहुत ज़्यादा. उनके यहाँ बाबूशाही चलना शुरू हो गई है. टारगेट कहाँ शुरू हो रहा है? नैरेटिव वॉर. क्योंकि ये आप ये देखिए, भारत का व्यक्ति जिस पे सबसे ज़्यादा भरोसा करता है वो आर्मी इकलौती बची है आपकी जिस तरह से बातचीत की है, जिस पे कभी कोई सवाल नहीं उठाता, जिसका सम्मान हर नागरिक करता है. अब आपने उसको टारगेट करना शुरू किया. वहाँ पे वो आर्टिकल छपता है और यहाँ क्या होता है, मुझे बहुत अफसोस होता है जानते हुए कि हमारे देश के एक्स आर्मी ऑफिसर्स वो एक सवाल उठाते हैं, वहाँ एक अलग नैरेटिव चलता है, यहाँ टारगेट हमारी सेना है, वो बोलते हैं कि जो इस बार CDS की नियुक्ति हुई है वो गलत तरीके से हुई है, इसको ध्यान देना चाहिए। आपने अपनी ही संस्था पे सोशल मीडिया पे आके सवाल अगर उठाया है, आपने ये नैरेटिव बनाना शुरू किया, पाकिस्तान को जो नैरेटिव वो बना रहा है उस प्रोपेगेंडे को आपने यहाँ प्रमोट किया। अब फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन की बात होती है, सबका अधिकार है, ऐसा नहीं कि कोई एक्स आर्मी ऑफिसर है तो उनका अधिकार नहीं है। लेकिन आप ये देखिए कि वो किन के लिए लिखते हैं। वो जो मीडिया पोर्टल्स हैं, आप उन पर ज़रा ध्यान दीजिए। फॉरेन फंडेड मीडिया पोर्टल्स जो हमेशा एंटी इंडिया बात करते हैं, उनकी फंडिंग कहाँ से होती है, जॉर्ज सोरोस से उनका क्या रिश्ता है, वो उस मीडिया पोर्टल पे लिखते हैं। और आप क्योंकि आप आर्मी से लोग आप पे भरोसा करेंगे, लेकिन उसके पीछे की जो फंडिंग चल रही है, और अगर आप उसके पपेट बनते हैं, अगर आप लेफ्ट के होकर उसके पपेट बनते हैं, तो फिर आप ये सोचें कि आप नैरेटिव वॉर में भारत की जनता को किस तरह से गुमराह कर रहे हैं, और खुद को अगर आप लेफ्ट बनाते हैं। लेकिन सबसे अच्छी बात उसमें ये रही, इसके लिए मैं आर्मी को बहुत थैंक्स बोलूँगी, इमीडिएटली जो आप अभी बात कर रहे थे नैरेटिव की, कि इमीडिएटली उन्होंने फॉर एग्जांपल वो जो प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई थी उसका उन्होंने खंडन किया सोशल मीडिया पे आके, जो आर्मी पहले बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं करती थी। पिछले कई सालों में, चाहे डोकलाम का मामला हुआ, पिछले 8-10 सालों में आर्मी भी ये बात समझ गई है, चाहे ऑपरेशन सिंदूर का मामला हो, कि हमें रिएक्टिव नहीं है, प्रोएक्टिव होना है। और नैरेटिव वॉर यहाँ से शुरू होता है। आपको इंटेंशन देखना चाहिए कि किसका इंटेंशन क्या है, उस इंटेंशन के पीछे भारत की सुरक्षा और भारत की बदनामी करने का क्या लक्ष्य। लोग कोई भी हो सकते हैं, वो कोई भी हो सकते हैं। मुझे दुख होता है आर्मी के नहीं होने चाहिए थे, लेकिन है। इसलिए सवाल यहाँ पर उठाना चाहिए कि जब नैरेटिव वॉर चलता है, और बहुत आपको सतर्क रहने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि अगला निशाना आर्मी है। क्योंकि भारत की इकलौती वो एक ऐसी संस्था है जिस पर हर देश का व्यक्ति गर्व करता है, और हमेशा से ये रहा, चाहे आपकी संस्कृति रही हो जिस पर भारत के व्यक्ति ने प्राउड के पहले उस पर हमला करो, और अभी वो आर्मी है। तो आप जो बात कर रहे थे कि लेफ्ट और राइट की बात कर रहे थे, तो जब भी लेफ्ट अगर किसी चीज़ को कैंसिल करना शुरू करता है, अगर आप आर्मी की तारीफें करना शुरू करोगे, तो लेफ्ट लॉबी आपको कैसे सपोर्ट करेगी। ऑपोजिशन का लीडर बोलेगा आर्मी को डोकलाम में मारा, लेफ्ट उसको प्रमोट करेगा, यहाँ आप सपोर्ट करेंगे, कहेंगे झूठ बोल रहे हैं। सो यू हैव टू बी फैक्चुअल, यू हैव टू कम विद द फैक्ट्स, और जब फैक्ट्स के साथ आप आते हैं तो फिर आपको कोई डिनाई नहीं कर सकता। और शायद यही वजह है कि इन दिनों फैक्ट चेकर्स की डिमांड बहुत बढ़ गई है, और फैक्ट चेकर्स होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, चाहे वो राइट हो चाहे लेफ्ट हो। जो युवा आपकी सेशन में, उस बच्चे ने एक सवाल पूछा, और जिस तरह का सवाल पूछा साफ दिख रहा था कि उसको नॉलेज की कमी है, उसने कुछ नहीं पढ़ा था, वो सोशल मीडिया पढ़ के आया था। वो अगर लेफ्ट को फॉलो करता होगा तो वही पढ़ के आएगा, राइट को फॉलो करके आएगा तो वही पढ़ के आएगा। ही शुड बी नॉलेजेबल। और एक और चीज़ मैं आपको बोलती हूँ, इस नैरेटिव वॉर से बचने का सबसे बड़ा तरीका फैक्ट चेक होना चाहिए। और दूसरी चीज़ होनी चाहिए कि जो बात कही थी कि स्क्रॉल डाउन कर देते हैं बच्चे, ऐसा नहीं है। इंक्विजिटिव आज का युवा, वो हर चीज़ को बहुत गंभीरता से जानना चाहता है, लेकिन आप उसको वैसा दो। अगर 1-1 मिनट की रील देखता है तो 2-2 घंटे के पॉडकास्ट भी मिलियंस व्यूज़ लेते हैं, उन्हें देखने वाला भी यही युवा है। तो नैरेटिव वॉर को काटना है तो आप सिर्फ फैक्ट्स के साथ काट सकते हैं, और सही समय पर आप नैरेटिव को धाराशाही, जैसे कि आर्मी ने कोर्ट मार्शल किया था उस पोस्ट का।
Thank you. Sir, often, with narrative warfare, we see this reactive kind of, defensive warfare, we say. We have seen Pakistan being at it day and night when it comes to narrative warfare against India. Now, I know that Pakistan survives on India, their only focus in India, and we have a focus which is universal, which is global. So we cannot just be looking at Pakistan and deciding every policy on Pakistan. But he's a mortal enemy. Why is it that we still lack the same kind of intensity of information warfare and warfare narrative with Pakistan when it comes to the way the Pakistanis are obsessed with? Even cricket is a narrative for Pakistan, but we have not been able to build a narrative which can cut Pakistani narrative. We are always defending the narratives, and the problem with defending narratives is that you have lost half the game if you have to defend a narrative. So how do you see that going forwards?
So when Junaid came out so angry from the front foot about why don't we do enough, I so much agree with him. I think generally I don't find blame, but I need to find a blame in our cultural issues. Like culturally we are very, very laid back people. Somehow we are forgiving and somehow we see space till the time it actually starts hurting us very badly and then respond. So we always see being a huge country, a civilization which is so old, we believe that these nitpicks are not going to hurt us in the long term, and it will die its own death, right? And I think on a similar line I argued earlier, but then I finished off by saying that we need to fight. I, for one, have been trying to convince the government, policymakers, even in our army, that issue which you said that people never used to fight. I'll just give a very small example, and now, though you want to keep it not Kashmir centric, but how it works. Shopian, there is an operation in Masjid. 5 terrorists were killed inside the Masjid. By evening, and now I have been dealing with media, so I knew what would happen. I knew fake news start coming up. The battalion, which was part of Brigadier Vidur's current area, cleaned up everything, got the entire masjid committee. They were shown, thank you so much, hand it over. Everything was hunky-dory, no problems, nothing. Somewhere in about 7:30, 8 o'clock, a photograph appears of Quran Sharif, with blood splattered, and it says that in this masjid operation was done. Now, as you said, reactive and proactive. My team was watching. I had trained the team. The moment that click came up, right, it immediately came, and our answers were ready in some form or other. Within no time, that whole thing was taken out, and we found through fact checking that it was related to a Syrian incident. It was about 3 years, 4 years old. It was already on the Twitter in the media. That snapshot was taken, it was put out. Immediately, police was contacted, FIR was lodged, and then the person, I don't want to name the person, the person took it out, and then she left the political career thereafter. So the fact is that when we know that the war of narrative is going to be a non-ending process, it is not going to be based on time, event, activity. There is somebody who's churning out everything. And in the previous session, somebody talked of AI. If you are not going to be sending your stories on the ChatGPT or various AI modules, somebody else, the left, which is vigilant, which is doing it, your enemy will be adding the stories which they want. And every click will result in forming, cementing that information. And therefore, we surely require some network. And a lot of people give credit. Oh, no, our government of India is doing, PIB is doing. They are government servant. And any government servant works like a servant. When you are kicked, you work. When you are not kicked, you don't work. It has to be privatized. It has to be socialized. It has to be public, private sector enterprise, which has to be a time-driven, and it has to be totally out of this government machineries, the verticals which are there today, which are not ready to work in the today's highly competitive environment of competition. So, person who's independent like Junaid can actually comes out with passion to fight, right? But when you tell a government servant to come and fight, he will say, "Mera to khane ka time ho gaya." But we in Valley, we had teams across, and I started with a team in Corps headquarters with just 5 or 6 soldiers. It expanded to youth who started fighting this war. The footprint was automatic, because there are enough people who love our country, who are nationalists, who didn't have voice. They started putting their face onto the Twitter, into social media, onto YouTube, pushing the narrative of what he was saying, that we are one country, we are here, we are happy. So who's doing this fight? Even in Kashmir. So there are a large number of youth who are fighting. But we need an organization, we need a structure, we need laws, legal mandates to ensure that we are able to contest, and it is a very heavy, demanding system which is required, which has to be keep on evolving and changing as AI changes to the pots spreading information, the toolkits, the way they are spread out. We need the structure, we don't have it. I am sure someday we'll get a huge kick and then we'll start getting into doing this business, but we are nowhere there.
Thank you. Junaid, in Kashmir, there's a lot of talk about narrative, war of narratives, things going wrong, things going right, things are fluid, things are better. Do you see this somewhere on the ground, the single story syndrome, or the way Kashmir had a very singular kind of a narrative and a mindset? That narrative actually shaped the mindset, to be very honest. The mindset was that, it's just not narrative. Do you see a change in that somewhere? Do you see a beginning of an opening of a closed wall which was, darkened and fed with a lot of narrative to keep you in a particular state of mind?
I would like to thank
Thank you. There have been some changes in Kashmir. I'm happy to call myself, not one of the recent converts after 2019, I'm saying this for 20 years. But after 2019, some things have changed. On the other hand, we must not forget that there are various levels to terrorism and radicalization and narratives. There are micro, meso, macro factors to radicalization, and we tend to look at people, when someone blows himself up or takes up the gun, we then call him a terrorist. Well, there's a long way which happened before that. And that is where I think, we as a community fail, in the sense that, it takes a lot for someone to pick up the gun and blow himself up. There is radicalization over the period happening, which, our enemies have also adapted to that. Previously it was you had to cross a mountain. And then you go there, you train your training, then you come back. Now you open a laptop and you can get some kind of indoctrination, radicalization, even some kind of, training. And we need to adapt to that as well. And I don't think the army can do it itself. It is the Mohalla committee, it is the Masjid committee, it is our elders at home, it is our teachers, it is our trainers at sports clubs. The whole society needs to be engaged in this. And let's stop thinking of a terrorist only when he picks up the gun. The narrative starts much, much earlier, and we need to have, mechanisms in place which have an early recognition of these changing trends. On the other hand, I must say, by some changes which happened in 2019, you do see Kashmir is more peaceful. But Kashmir is not peaceful yet. When we talk about, and that's when we talk about, in a geopolitical terms, when we talk about, countering, the whole thing is Uri happened, we countered. Pathankot happened, we countered. Then Pulwama happened, we countered. Then Pahalgam happened, we countered. So, will it deter Pakistan from doing terrorism? No. Because Pakistan's political doctrine, one of its foundations is terrorism. What it does, it tells the Pakistanis there is a price to pay. And every time they have been ready to pay that price with some intervals. Those prices will increase and they might be ready to pay even in the future. But in order to deter Pakistanis from exporting terrorism, what we need to do is we need to set our house in order. We need to have a mechanism which recognize radicalization. We need to engage our youth. We need to, trust our youth. And it's not only employment. There are many people sitting here who would like to say what I'm saying, but they're afraid. They are maybe not, they don't have the platform. Maybe their parents don't support them. These things have changed and we need to keep changing them. As they say, a war is only won by the many battles you win. And these are the small battles we need to fight in order to win that war of narratives.
Thank you. And before I close, I just need a very small closing comment for you, sir. Junaid said it takes a lot for a man to pick up a gun, but it takes very little these days for a man to pick up a pen and instigate a man to pick up a gun. What would you say about that?
Yeah, okay. So I coined one term called white collar terrorist when I was here. Essentially, I was wanting to find during a conversation a suitable word for same people whom Junaid is referring to. A youth who's vulnerable does pick up a gun maybe for glamour, but not voluntarily. There's a huge process of identifying, changing the mind, targeting it, and encouraging it. And that takes some degree of time, selection, identification. Out of hundreds of youth, one picks up the weapon because he should pick up the weapon. The people in Kashmir, and I know, I don't want to say I know it for fact, but when I was here, I've done so many tenures, they know कि वो कौन ऐसा इंसान है जिसके पास बड़ा घर है, उसका बच्चा जर्मनी में है, चंडीगढ़ में है, प्रॉपर्टी है, अच्छा बिजनेस है, मगर हमारे गांव के बच्चों के अंदर के हाथ में हथियार देने की कोशिश कर रहा है. They all know, but fear, because everybody is politically connected, government connected. If somebody speaks up the voice, Jamaat will come and sort him out. And that fear has become a process seeped into every breath. It will take time for that fear to come out, and for that, the entire government machinery has to work to ensure that people are able to speak and call that gentleman out or that lady out, that you will not put my child's hand onto a gun. जब तक ये नहीं होगा, तब तक a line which is quoted very often, which I have said so many times, there is peace in Kashmir, but it's not peaceful. Kashmir शांत है, मगर शांति नहीं है. It's got a very deeper this thing. आज आप ये peace देख रहे हो, it will take flip time to change into something which people don't understand, and very few people understand Jammu and Kashmir and special Kashmir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was really, really very inspiring and insightful to hear you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us two school students, very enthusiastic and desperate to perform, Uzma and Akira. Can we please put our hands together? I'm very tired. Thank you for that. Sorry for that low energy.
The soul that for
The sound team.
okay, now there is this or drink after the day.
Volunteers, please move over the chairs, please.
That had wished that you crack. As well, I'm going to tell me I didn't.
Well, that's all.
What did I?
So we